We are thrilled to have our third and final town hall. We started these in July really to connect with our families. We want to welcome you to our third event. You know, our intention with these town halls are truly to build an environment in which you understand what's going on, why they may be happening. We will probably over communicate throughout the next couple weeks to month. And the reason for that is if you think of it as, you know, peaks and valleys, when we communicate or the building communicates with you directly as families, they're the peaks. Well, you know, whenever time spans in between those peaks, they're the valleys, and that still gets filled with information. So we do these to hopefully provide you with an update, information, eliminate some of the issues of uncertainty that COVID definitely creates. So we'll get right into it. Our new teachers started last week. We're thrilled. We have an aggressive new teacher orientation. Our teachers come in for the week. We acclimate them to the district. And then also in many ways, get them to understand the different tools that we use for Schoology, the eSchool, some other things. And we're hoping, Dr. Edge, are we okay, or are you getting feedback on my end?
We are fine.
Okay. So we do that really to acclimate them and for a very smooth start. Yesterday, all of our staff returned. It just takes an incredible amount of work to get to this day. I'm very grateful for our buildings. We also have athletics that started, which we're thrilled about. Just outside of my office, I can always hear the Del Castle cheerleaders. It's a great sound to have students back outside participating. We're thrilled about that. So a couple key pieces of information. We had our first vaccination clinic on the 19th at Howard High. We have vaccination clinics at Del Castle and Hodson on September 1st. We've sent out a link to everyone, irregardless of where your child goes to school. We choose those sites really off of ease of like 95 and different areas to get to. And then also crowds last year, how many people just can travel through the parking lot. We're having these after school. And that way, if family members also want to get vaccinated, it is open to the general public as well, even though they are Newcastle County VOTEC driven vaccinations. I encourage you to get your child vaccinated. As superintendent, first and foremost, my job is to ensure your children get a quality education. There's been nothing like this, certainly in my tenure as an educator in over 2 decades. And this year we are looking toward a successful school year. The one primary mitigation strategy we read through the CDC and other sources is the vaccination. So for us, even if your child is exposed in our schools, they don't have to quarantine if they're vaccinated. There are some other processes in place, and we'll explain them to your child and you as the year commences. But that is one of our primary mitigation strategies. There's September 1st, vaccination clinics. The signups have gone out. Check the websites. You'll see all of that information there. We will have testing available for students if they choose. We've partnered with a company called Quidel, and this is something that they will run through our schools. Obviously, it is through parental permission. They can't go ahead and just call them down. So look for that paperwork to come as well. But if you would like your child to be randomly tested throughout the year, we will make that available to students as well. I also want to say, as we near with our first day, really just 2 days away for our seniors, make sure Hack and Schoology are working. You're able to get into your home access center. I've mentioned this before. I just had a child graduate last year. I have currently a sophomore. The hack is a wonderful tool to communicate with families. It eases some of that burden of trying to figure out what's going on. So I want to ensure that's clear, but also because of transportation. This year, we made a couple different decisions. One of that was not to send the transportation postcards home. One, it saved us a lot of money. Two, it also, though, allowed transportation to make up-to-minute changes before the school started. So usually in the past, we had to cut that sooner because we had to get the postcards out. Now that they're on Hack, which is where you can find any bus stop information, make sure you just go on that your child's Hack site and you can find it. Also, though, I also want to mention transportation for us right now. We are really short on drivers. You've heard this throughout the state. You may have heard it. It's a national crisis as well. If you have any interest, it's a great way to be a part of our school community. It's a great way to get to know students. And there is a flexibility within it as well. But if you do have any interest, please call 994-8544. That's 994-8544 with our transportation office. We're looking for drivers. Right now, we do have a few routes uncovered, which means then we have to double out routes. And you know what that means, especially in Newcastle County VOTEC, especially if your child's an upperclassman, that lengthens the time your child's on a bus. We try to avoid that as much as possible. So we're doing the best we can. But this is beyond just us being organized. We've reduced the number of routes we've done and a couple other things to make it easier for our drivers through their routes. But right now there's just a driver shortage. If you are unsure on where to go to Hack, you can just go into your school website, access Hack through there, and then click on that registration tab, and that's where you'll find all your bus information. Another important date is the 23rd is most likely our parent night. And you might be thinking, Dr. Jones, why isn't this solidified yet? It's a great question. We've learned one thing in COVID resoundingly, and that's be patient. We've had to change dates for different things. And so right now, that is the tentative date on September 23rd for parent night. Have our folks come in. We love meeting you. It's a great night in our school community. So right now, mark that down. But again, it's still tentative and mainly only because we're watching the news. We're watching cases just like everyone else. We are Staggered Start. I'll just reiterate that. Thursday, our seniors start. We're excited to bring them back. We have always done some version of a staggered start. However, this year we are doing one grade level a day, and that's for a couple different reasons. One, some of your children haven't been in school for over a year and a half, or roughly a year and a half. So our goal is to get to know them, to have a deep, meaningful connection with every child that walks across our halls and into the classrooms, for the teachers to be able to get to know their students well and give us all a little bit of the freedom of getting to know what a day looks like for your student in COVID. You know that the governor mandated masks. Originally, the very first parent town hall we had, I told you that we were following CDC guidance and that they were strongly encouraged. As of now, the CDC aligned their philosophy with the American Association of Pediatrics. And since then, the state of Delaware has said they're mandating masks. I can tell you from us, it is just another mitigation strategy. So between the vaccinations, social distancing, testing, periodic testing, and then also the mask wearing, hand sanitizer throughout the building. Our primary goal this school year is to have your children in our buildings 5 full days a week throughout each day. learning their trades, learning their academics, and giving them the education that they deserve and that you expect. So we're looking forward to getting that started. So Staggered Start each of those days. June 1st, all of our students are back. And then by then we've had a chance to meet each of the grade levels, walk them through what their days are like, especially for the freshmen and also for the sophomores. There are sophomores who may not have been in our building outside of maybe an open house or just a couple days they attended last year. We don't take that for granted. We know that there's two types of safety in schools. There's the psychological, emotional well-being and safety students experience, and there's also the physical safety. Both are very important to us about your child. So for that reason, that's why we're doing the Staggered Start. Hopefully they have a meaningful connection with their teachers, learn all about the classes, but also how the schools work. You know, some of the schools are massive. You know, my office is right here located in Del Castle. Del Castle is a big school, big campus, and it just always helps to give our students an opportunity to walk around without the burden of having every child at one time, especially again during this time. So I did mention about masks. I just want to reiterate that on the bus, this has always been the case, but children are asked to wear their mask on the bus. At the bus stop, outside, they do not have to wear the mask. We just ask that from center of mass, they're roughly 3 feet apart. That's the CDC regulation. Keep some distance apart from those other students or children at the bus stop. And once they get on the bus, put their mask on, and then they are to keep their mask on throughout the day here in their schools. Now, I will say, even last year, when our students started to come in hybrid 1.0 and hybrid 2.0, we did a few different things to allow for mask breaks, to allow students to go outside, teachers, if weather permitting. This is a brutal week in the 90s. Hopefully the weather will dip a little bit next week and slightly cooler temperatures, but we've had teachers take students outside. We've also had teachers, at the end of last year, it just took a while to get them, but at our schools, we have massive tents that you would see at any large function. So like Del Castle has a 20 by 100 tent. St. George's has a massive tent. You know, so we bought these tents so students can go outside. They're primarily used in breakfast and lunch as spillover areas for our students, but they also can be used for outdoor classroom seating. A lot of our schools also have high bay doors in the CTE areas. We open them up to keep the airflow, and then also allow students, if they need to step out, as long as they're communicating with their teacher, letting them know, you know, our belief throughout all of this is that we have to move forward together in cooperation with one another. I told you our last town hall that was our primary mantra for this school year, which is forward together. And that is because this is going to take everyone's cooperation to have a successful school year. So that is about masks. We have them on. So if a student acts, I broke my mask today. I was visiting Hodson. I just went to put it on. The side of the mask snap. So we have them available for students when needed as well. Let me also say, though, there's I mentioned the whole idea about school safety. And this is also when in 2021, we know there's a different line of prevention when it comes to our student safety. We protect our students from the outside, you know, from whether it's weather. If some of you on this call may remember, we had tornado warning during a school day just about 2 years ago. That really came out of nowhere. So that's an element, but there also are elements where we know there's been school issues. And so part of that protection is, you know, really closing down the school, not to keep the students from getting out, but really anyone from getting in. So I would be remiss as the superintendent if I said we haven't thought about that. We were being trained just a couple years ago, keep doors shut, windows shut, things of that nature. And now with COVID, we're fighting something a little different. And then we have to now open up some of these high bays. The one common denominator with the incidents that have occurred through the US, and this is certainly not easy to discuss, it's not something we'd like to talk about, but it's a reality in our world, is there's always a message being sent to people. So I just ask everyone to be totally tuned in. And even if you're not sure, it's an innocuous comment, you're not sure if it's a big deal or not, call us. We would rather err on the side of caution in this day and age than have regrets in the future. So I know, again, that's not something easy to talk about, but as we layer some of these mitigation strategies, keep windows open, increase airflow, open high bays, there's also then steps we can take as adults and as our students can communicate heavily with us. Again, even the most, simple comment, we just may have to look into, and you never know, it really can make a difference. So we've also received some questions about absences and how that'll work. We didn't want to assume just because there was technology in a home or something like that, that there's always the opportunity for the student to log on and so forth. Schoology worked very well for us last year. So we're moving to our pre-COVID role of, if a student has to be out for a couple days, they work through their teacher, their counselor, and get those assignments. Now, if it's a longer period of time, that's where the counselor may step in and we may enact something different. But for the most part, we will work through our pre-COVID ways of assigning students work, using our learning management system, communicating with our students through the LMS, assigning assignments through the LMS, posting videos. That is, even throughout COVID, resoundingly from conversations with our students, brief surveys with our students, talking with our teachers, that was one of the most effective ways that teachers and students communicated with each other and accomplished work at different times. It certainly won't be easy, and we hope to work through all of those situations the best we can. So I'll end on that. This is going to be a phenomenal year. I thought, once everyone started getting vaccinated, really our mentality when we graduated all of our seniors at the Blue Rocks in June, that we were moving out of COVID, that we were putting behind. We didn't think it was gone, but we certainly felt like we had the upper hand. I can tell you right now, we're fully back to embracing that we live in a world where there is spread, that COVID may not be going for a while, whether it's the Delta variant, whatever it may be. But as a school district, we know first and foremost, especially career and technical high schools, that our students in our schools is imperative. We know it about their social emotional well-being, and we know it about their learning, academics, and their career areas. We're incredibly excited to welcome your students back. We look forward to a fantastic year. Again, thank you for entrusting your children's education with us. And if you have any questions, we'll continue to do the FAQ. That works well. Remember, a lot of people tune in to the live, but a lot of parents also choose to watch the video. And then we also will translate this into Spanish and post that tomorrow. So this gives us ample time to create that FAQ. So info@ncCVT.k12.de.us. If you put your questions and send them to that address, we will certainly create that frequently asked question document and get that to you. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. This concludes our third town hall.